Ernest Hemingway. The fifth column was written in the fall and early winter of 1937 while we were expecting an offensive. There were three major offensive projects for the Army of the Center that year. One of them was Brunetti. It had been fought, had started brilliantly, and ended in a very bloody and undecisive battle, and we were waiting for the first of the other two. They never came, but while we waited, I wrote the play. Each day we were shelled by the guns beyond Leganés and behind the folds of Garabitas Hill. And while I was writing the play, the Hotel Florida, where we lived and worked, was struck by more than 30 high-explosive shells. So if it is not a good play, perhaps that is what is the matter with it. If it is a good play, perhaps those 30-some shells helped write it. When you went to the front, at its closest it was 1,500 yards from the hotel, the play was always slipped inside the inner fold of a rolled-up mattress. When you came back and found the room and the play intact, you were always pleased. It was finished and copied and sent out of the country just before the taking of Teruel. The title refers to the Spanish statement in the fall of 1936 that they had 4 columns advancing on Madrid and a 5th column of sympathizers inside the city to attack the defenders of the city from the rear. If many of the 5th column are now dead, it must be realized that they were killed in a warfare where they were as dangerous and as determined as any of those who died in the other 4 columns. The 4 columns advancing on Madrid shot their prisoners. When members of the 5th column were captured inside the city in the early days of the war, they were also shot. Later, they were to be tried and given prison or labor camp sentences or sentenced to execution, depending upon the crimes they had committed against the Republic. But in the early days, they were shot. They deserved to be under the rules of war, and they expected to be. Some fanatical defenders of the Spanish Republic, and fanatics do not make good friends for a cause, will criticize the play because it admits that 5th column members were shot. They will also say, and have said, that it does not present the nobility and dignity of the cause of the Spanish people. It does not attempt to. It will take many plays and novels to do that, and the best ones will be written after the war is over. This is only a play about counter-espionage in Madrid. It has the defects of having been written in wartime, and if it has a moral, it is that people who work for certain organizations have very little time for home life. There is a girl in it named Dorothy, but her name might also have been Nostalgia. Perhaps it would be best now for you to see it and for me to stop talking about it. But if being written under fire makes for defects, it may also give a certain vitality. You who see it will have a better perspective on this than I have. About the stories, there is not much to say. The first 4 are the last ones I have written. The others follow in the order in which they were originally published. The first one I wrote was up in Michigan, written in Paris in 1921. The last was Old Man at the Bridge, cabled from Barcelona in April of 1938. Beside the 5th column, I wrote The Killers, Today is Friday, 10 Indians, Part of the Sun Also Rises, and the first third of To Have and Have Not in Madrid. It was always a good place for working. So was Paris, and so were Key West, Florida in the cool months, the ranch near Cook City, Montana, Kansas City, Chicago, Toronto, and Havana, Cuba. Some other places were not so good, but maybe we were not so good when we were in them.